while you're still watching tea or coffee, and the conversation continues. We're discussing sex education in Nigeria amongst young people. Or we're looking at the timing, the timing and manner of approach of having of having such a very sensitive conversation. We're actually going to be going more into the approach as we're going to be joined by our guest very shortly, and we'll also be looking at myths and facts about surrounding sexual education in Nigeria. Sexual education in Nigeria is very is again a very necessary conversation because of the climates of the country that we live in, with the whole cultural and religious, and even tribal factors and influences that actually that affect this particular conversation.
Yes.
But yes, our conversation is here this morning.
All right, we have our guest joining us live now. She is Joy Iseki. Yes. She is a therapist and she's a friend of the family, as I would like to say. Good morning, Joy.
Good morning.
How are you doing? I'm fine. You sound fantastic. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Okay, so this morning we're talking about sex education for children. Yes. We're talking about the meaning, we're talking about the forms, we're talking about benefits, we're talking about facts and myths. But my first question to you is, what is sex education?
Okay, sex education is basically information around sexuality, sexual practices, everything that involves human sexuality and health. That's what sex education is about. So when we're able to provide information in this regard, we always term it sex education.
All right. So let me make this personal. Let me make this personal to you, Joy. When was the first time you had sex education, and at what age?
You want me to be honest? I never did. I don't think that I belong to that generation that was given sexual education, except, maybe some of the little were taught in biology, in secondary school, but they didn't go as far as the physical sex education is right now. They just taught us about how the organs and that. They didn't teach us the other aspects of sex education that would help us practically, when we grow up as adolescents and adults. So I don't think I actually had sex education,
Okay. All right. So I have a research data here that was actually conducted by Ernest Orji from the Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospital. This is also published in the Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Now, he conducted a research in Ile-Ife town where he interviewed about 1,000 people, 400 students, 400 parents, and 200 teachers. And 78% of this particular data supported the introduction of sexual education in the school curriculum. How important is it for sex education to be embedded within the school curriculum so that young children can begin to gain information about sex from a very early age? So how important is it to embed sexual education in a school curriculum? Hello, Joy.
Yeah, I'm here, but I can't hear you.
Okay, how important is it to embed sex education in the school curriculum of primary and secondary school children?
Okay, if I get you, because it's not really clear to me, but if I get you, you're asking how important is it that we give sex education to primary and secondary school students,
to embed it within the school curriculum. How important is it? Or if it's important?
To the school curriculum.
Yes, into the school curriculum.
Okay, I get you now. I think it's really important, okay, because the truth is we are sexual beings, and when you see a human being, most of the first things you see is actually sex. Everything about it is about sex. You see a male, you see a female, that's already sexuality. So teaching these children, just like we teach everything else about life, we should be able to teach children about sexual education. The fear is always about religious beliefs of, are we exposing them too early? But there are different degrees to teaching these children. You know, you can start from the parts, their body parts, them knowing their body parts, them knowing the functions and all of that. So I actually believe that it's really important that we inculcate comprehensive sexual education actually, because it's being done in developed countries and it's helping them with prevention of a lot of the sexually transmitted diseases that is more common in Africa. So I think it's important.
Okay.
Yes,
All right. So what manner of approach, should, this, I remember in 2017, there was a particular textbook that were given alternative ways for sexual intimacy. And, one of these alternative ways that was highlighted in this particular book was masturbation.
Please help me. I can't hear you.
Young children. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I hear you when you talk like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So what manner of approach should, schools and parents, approach giving young people sexual education? How should these conversations be had? Because, it's a very sensitive conversation to have with a young person. So how should, educators and parents alike give this education?
Okay, because of the clarity of the call, I'm always going to be repeating the question the way I hear you so that I'm sure we're on the same page.
Right.
So now you're asking me that how should parents go about the sensitive issue of sexual education?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay, perfect. Okay. All right. I actually believe that we have to take the age of the children into cognizance when we're talking about sexual education. You don't want to, as important, like I said earlier, as important as sex education is, start from, elementary aspects. Just like everything school. We start from 1, 2, we start from A from apple, 3-letter words, 4-letter words. It's the same thing. We can actually inculcate this same method into sex education. From 3 to 7 age, we can start to teach them about their body parts. We can tell them the functions of their body parts, the difference between the male body part and the female body part. They can get it because by then the guys already touch their penis, the ladies touch their vulva, so they are aware. Okay, so we just need to let them know, okay, these are the functions at that age. Then when it's getting older, we can become more exclusive. So it's just bit by bit, but let's not shy away from it. That's the core thing. First of all, tell them about the body parts without any form of emotional or trying to hide the names. Say their real names. Don't say no. What is it? It's called a penis. Let the boy know that this is my penis. Let the lady know that this is my vulva, my vagina, and all of that. It's okay. So that they don't get the right words in another place, and then they start to get more curious. And in that curiosity, they start to test what they don't understand. Do you understand?
Yes. I really agree with you. Before you joined us, Joy, Ade and I, we were having this conversation and we were asking ourselves, what age is the right age? And I said 5 years should not be, 5 years is not too early to actually have that conversation. And you should actually let them know what this thing does. Simple and short. Then as time goes on, you can be having these conversations periodically from 5 to maybe when the child is 10, when they enter secondary school, when they start learning about puberty, and then when the child is now in senior secondary school, when they start learning about reproductive system, and when the child is going into the university, when they now meet people. I really think that it is a conversation that you should start having from a very young age so the child is aware. Not that you tell the child that, okay, so when they touch you, you get pregnant. I really don't buy or subscribe into that mentality. But I want to ask you, why do parents shy away from these conversations? Because I believe charity begins at home. I believe that before they get the education from school, they should have gotten some sort of education, in-depth education from home. But why do parents shy away from that conversation?
Yes, I actually agree with you that it should start from home. In fact, I'm a proponent for home sexual education because the mother or the father knows their children more than any teacher would ever do. And so I think, I think the reason why parents shy away, because I want to follow where we are, our locality, the kind of beliefs that we have in this part of the world. We have this taboo about sex, even as adults, even in churches. Do you understand? As old as we are as adults, we can't even express sexuality freely. So the mother that is not aware, that is not able to talk about sex with her own self and her spouse and amongst her friends, really, might not find it easy to talk about it with her little kids. Because to her, she'll be thinking that she's exposing them too early. So I think what keeps them away from sharing this information is the fear that they might be exposing these children to sexual activity. It's always that notion most times. So they're afraid. This is legit. So we just need parents to know how to go about it. The age limit, when to start, what to introduce, and all of that. So when they have this awareness, they know how to go about it. So that reduces the fear. I think that's really what it is for them.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, what are the benefits of sex education? Like, why should it be important? Like, so I'm a parent and I'm feeling like maybe 5 years is too early, or even 13 years is too early to expose my little baby to such conversation. But what can I say that is the benefit of sex education for me to have that conversation with my child?
A lot, really, because when we talk about sex education, that's why when I was defining, I tried to make it comprehensive. It's not just about male and female mating. Sexual education then comes into sexual orientation, sexual organs, sexual health, sexual well-being, and all of this is what we call sex education. So the idea that sex education is just about male and female meeting is where people have fears discussing sexual education. So the importance, when we understand sexual education in this wider scope, it becomes easier for us to see why it's important. For instance, if a child is aware of the usefulness of his penis and his vulva and his vagina and the consequences of sleeping without condom, for instance, or protection or birth control, and they are aware that it's not just being pregnant, they might contract sexually transmitted infections and diseases, it becomes easier for that child to make informed decisions when they become sexually active. Because the thing is, whether you tell them or not, they will find out. I wasn't taught sexual education. Did I not find out about sex? It's part of our life. It's part of our life. It's like food. So they will find out. We just need to inform them on time so that they can make informed decisions. So they have better care in their sexuality. They're able to take care of themselves sexually. They are aware of the consequences of inappropriate sexual activities, and especially when they are exposed to different partners. They are aware of respect for people with different sexual orientation. So they reduce that level of trying to judge another person who is not like them. So they are able to tolerate. And tolerance helps us to live well in a society socially. So it's a lot of benefits, really. But the first and the most important thing, again, is being able to take care of their sexual well-being, making decisions for themselves. So for instance, a young girl meets an older man and she hasn't been informed about sexual education. The guy is more advanced. And she just like maybe 15, 16, and this guy is like 25, 26. There are so many things he could say based on his wider experience in life that can lure that girl into sex. Now, if she has been informed about the consequences of this decision, she's able to make an informed decision. If I have to, okay, even if I have to engage in this, you must wear protection, or I can say, no, I'm not ready for this because this might happen and that might happen, and I don't think that at my age I can face it. It's different from somebody else who's naive and just goes in with that guy because she doesn't know anything about sex. So I think every child should go through sex education. This was one of the things that I did during my NYSC days as a peer educator. So it's something I'm actually passionate about. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, Joy, before we let you go this morning, I want you to advise parents on how they can actually shy away from this, because a lot of parents are finding it very difficult to just, give their children proper sex education. In fact, they don't even know how to, because they even don't know. I mean, you can't teach what you don't know. So how can they get knowledge to give them the right education and also shy away from actually giving their children proper awareness about sex education?
Yeah. Okay, the first place is with the parents first. You can't give what you don't have. Parents should become sexually aware. Parents should understand sexuality beyond their biases. A lot of times we have biases about a topic, and so we stay away from it. So parents should be aware themselves of what sex entails and what sexual education entails. With that, it's intuitive. be, they'll learn how to, once they are more aware of sexual education themselves, they are able to teach it in an easier way that those children can understand, and in a way that will not kind of deep into their fear of the child being exposed rather too early. Okay, so for me, I think parents should first of all become more sexually aware. It has to start from there. Yes. And then we can also, we can involve social activities from the government, because this is education. It's part of education. We can find a way. I feel that some certain teachers should be trained specifically on sexual education, and then through that method, train other teachers, and from there, through PTA meetings and, parent-teachers organizations, they can actually let them know the importance of this and why they shouldn't shy away from it. So it starts from that, from the parents to the school, the government, everybody being involved. And even part of what we're doing now, having this conversation, having this talk is part of it. We are creating an awareness. After this, some people might want to find out more. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Joy, for joining us this morning. Yeah. Have yourself a lovely day.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, bye. All right, we just had a conversation with Joy Iseki. She is a therapist, and the conversation this morning is on sex education, when you should have the conversation with your child, what age, and when did you have that conversation on sex education, or did you even have the conversation on sex education at all? We've been able to get interesting views from different people on what sex education is about, and when they actually had their first conversation on sex education. In fact, she even said that she never did. And a lot of people really never did.
Yeah, I've learned something this morning, and that is, you asked me at the start of the conversation what age I think, and I said something along the lines of timing. And now, but the conversation we've had together, and that we've had with Joy Iseki this morning has helped me put things into perspective. That and the perspective now I'm learning is that you need to actually tell a young person about their body.
Yes.
The same way you are telling them your nose is for this, your
breathing, your eyes is for seeing, your mouth, your teeth,
tongue is for
your tongue,
tasting.
exactly, your ears.
It's the same way you tell them that you're at some point this is your chest, this is your vagina, or this is your penis. Do you understand?
Yes.
At some point your body is going to change, and when your body changes, we're going to take this conversation up again.
Yes.
Do you understand? So now I'm beginning to, because you are just giving the child the education of their body, first of all.
Yes.
Because the thing is that they're going to be alone with their body at some point. In fact, they're always alone with their body, so to speak. So what they do with their body, you need to let them be aware of the different parts of the body, so they are actually, they have the necessary information about their body to indulge, with their body or whatnot, essentially.
I think that generally having basic education about your body is important.
Yeah.
You should know. And the reasons why we shy away from talking about the breasts and other private parts is because of, what happens after. And the reasons why parents are scared is because of exposure. They don't want their children to grow up too fast, and it's understandable. Nobody wants their baby to just be out there. Like, the world is very dangerous and everything. So, it's scary.
Yeah.
But then you have to.
Yeah,
she said something that she learned anyways. Some people learn on the internet, some people learn from their friends, some people learn from older people.
You will still learn.
You will still learn, but how you now learn is important. How about they learn from you, or they hear it from you firsthand? So when they are learning, they already know. Yeah,
and it's such a sad thing when people are learning under the banner of peer pressure. And then and then you're trying to fit in. Maybe your friends, are having sex. They're very promiscuous,
aware and all of that. Yes,
that. But you've not really had those conversations, and now these very active sex, people. Not that I'm saying that they're doing anything wrong. As long as they're protecting yourself as a young adult, you know, but then you have no idea of what they're doing. You know, they've had the education that they need. They understand contraceptive, they understand, you know, keeping safe, they understand regular checks in the hospital. But you that have had no sexual education, now you're learning, you understand, and you now want to indulge in this particular behavior as a result of peer pressure. It can be dangerous, and that's one of the consequences of a lack of sexual education, you know, for a young person.